To say that Dr Yasir Qadhi is an interesting guy would be an understatement. His international fame all started when, in discussion with Muhammad Ajib on the subject of the preservation of the Quran, he admitted that the standard Islamic narrative of the perfect preservation of the Quran had holes in it. It is an amazing discussion because Hijab went to Qadhi to get an answer to something that was bothering him. Hijab had been saying publicly for years that the Quran was perfectly preserved right down to the letter, and even the diacritic marks, that is the dots and dashes that tell you how to pronounce the word. He also said that there was only one Quran which is the same as the one in heaven. This position had become difficult recently because of people like J. Smith and many others waving many different Qurans in his face down at Hyde Park Corner. Dr Qadhi is one of the world's leading authorities in the study of the Quran with a PhD from Yale. Hijab probably thought that Qadhi would settle the issue for him and then he could go back to the likes of J. Smith and put an end to the whole issue. How wrong was he? Instead of Qadhi giving him a suitable explanation, he instead, in effect, agreed with the likes of Smith and admitted that the standard Islamic narrative on the preservation of the Quran had holes in it. That is to say, it is simply not true. Hijab's alarm is plain to see, and in desperation he pushes Qadhi for the suitable response, but it doesn't come. Instead he just keeps making it worse and admits no version of the 30 plus Qurans we have is the same as the one in heaven. Instead he proposes taking a mix of all of them, but which bits though? This caused such a storm that both Hijab and Qadhi had to pull the video of their discussion. Apparently, it is reported that Muslims were posting on there that they were leaving Islam in disgust, saying that they had been lied to for years on this subject. Now, Dr Qadhi has just made another statement that sent shockwaves through the Islamic world. What did he say? Only this, that no Western scholar of Islamic studies accepts the Hadith has been reliable. Interestingly, he didn't say Western scholars except for me.
Like, as you're aware, and you're an academic channel, right? You're well aware, nobody in the academy affirms the Muslim Sunni science of Hadith. Nobody. It is considered to be completely discredited. I'm just being factual. I'm describing. I'm not saying which one is right or wrong. I'm just saying the max you'll get, like Harold Motsky and others, are going to say, well, we can say that some hadith definitely go back to some tabi'un. Mm-hmm. That's like the max you can say. Mm-hmm. As for definitively stating that the hadith go back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at this stage of my life, I will have to say this is what I say as a believer, not as an academic.
For any who don't know, Islam builds its beliefs from two main sources. One is the Quran and the other is what is known as the Hadiths. The Hadiths are the group of reported sayings by Muhammad, and they have a lot of problems. Firstly, they were only put together around 200 years after the death of Muhammad. Now, 200 years is a long period of time, so it is easy for corruption to come in. Also, they make assumptions about the individuals in the chain of narration, that they are honest and have a good memory. Another problem is that in many places the Hadith contradict the Quran. For example, the Quran says that Muhammad never did any miracles, while the Hadith says that he did. An even bigger problem for the Hadith is that the Quran says that no one should use any other narrative other than the Quran. The word Hadith means narrative. It is a fact that a lot of the doctrines for Islam come from the Hadith and not from Quran, such as praying 5 times a day. Without the Hadith, Islam would be very thin on its practices, as there is very little detail in the Quran. In short, the Hadith is very important to the beliefs of Islam. So back to Dr Qadhi. Let me show another clip from his discussion, then you may see where I'm going with all this.
So when I become Shaykh Yasir and I go and preach and teach, I will quote Sahih Bukhari and I will quote Sahih Muslim and I will say قال الله قال رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, and that's the preacher. And I understand in the academy I cannot quote Bukhari and this will be what the Prophet ﷺ said. I understand this, so I'm just going to have to use a different, epistemology. Does that answer your question? I don't know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What he is saying here is that even though academia does not accept the authenticity of the Hadiths, and even though he's unable to refute them, he will still preach the Hadith when teaching because he believes it, despite all the evidence to the contrary. This is what we call blind faith. This is where you refuse to believe the evidence and instead stick to what you want to believe. To be fair to Dr Qadhi, it is a common human habit, but having said that, he is supposed to be a scientist and supposed to follow the evidence regardless of where it leads him. Jesus said, if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a pit. That is what Qadhi is doing here when he continues to teach the narrative accepted by Islam on the subject of the Hadith and the preservation of the Quran. Now, if we compare that to the Christian faith has been attacked right from the beginning. It became more threatening to faith in God and the Bible around the late 17th century, early 18th century, with what was referred to as the Enlightenment period, with philosophers such as Voltaire and Kant and others. Later, the mantle was taken up by the German branch of higher criticism. These men were atheists but put a lot of effort into attacking the God of the Bible, who they supposedly didn't believe in, and anything remotely supernatural. In modern times, the mantle has moved to the proponents of the so-called theory of evolution. The difference between most scholars of the Quran and Islam, practicing Muslims and practicing Christians, is that the Christian scholars have been able to effectively push back. Take, for example, the modern weapon of atheism, namely evolution. Just look at the number of websites and channels of active scientists who challenge the evolutionary paradigm. Basically, Christianity by principle is open to any question that anyone may throw at it, and the reason for this is because we know we can always defend our position, and also it is the most honest thing to do. Blind faith and truth are not the same. If you have the truth, then you don't need a blind faith. Attacks on the truth can be very challenging to defend against, but if we dig deep enough, we will find what is the truth. Islam cannot do this, and that is why people like Qadhi are stuck between the two worlds of their beliefs and academia. So we see Qadhi has to rely on blind faith or desert his religion. Maybe Dr Qadhi could prove me wrong on this.